guys, Lexi from the future here. So it's been a really busy and stressful week and I didn't have time to put a video together. So the video you're about to see is actually a series I did on TikTok. I know a lot of my subscribers on YouTube don't have TikTok, so a lot of you wanted to see me upload those videos here. So that's what the video is going to be this week. It's a B.I.T.E model breakdown of the LDS Church point by point. I hope you guys like it and yeah, enjoy the video. I want to talk about why I call the Mormon Church a cult. This book was a good starting point for me in learning about what a cult is and how they operate. It's called Combating Cult Mind Control by Stephen Hassan. Stephen Hassan is a cult expert, and you can learn more about him and his story if you go to freedomofmind.com or if you read the book, obviously. But for now, I want to move on to the church and the B.I.T.E model. Hassan developed the B.I.T.E model as a way to showcase how cults have control over their members. B.I.T.E stands for behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotional control, as you can see here. So I'm going to go over all of these and each point individually in a series of videos. The more of these a group hits on and the stronger it hits on each point is a good indication of if that group is a destructive cult. And it's a really good way to be able to start to define and recognize mind control. Promote dependence and obedience. Yes, absolutely, especially the obedience part. Obedience is heavily emphasized within the church. Modify behavior with rewards and punishments. This happens a lot where members commit a certain sin and then you are not allowed to participate in certain ordinances like taking the sacrament. Dictate where and with whom you live. This one not so much in day-to-day life within the church, but on an LDS mission, yes, absolutely. Restrict or control sexuality. 500% yes. They decide when you can have it and with whom you can have it and what type of people you're allowed to have it with. Control clothing and hairstyle. Yes, absolutely, that starts from a very young age. If you grew up in the church, you know this. Regulate what and how much you eat and drink. Absolutely, just check out the word of wisdom. Deprive you of 7 to 9 hours of sleep. This one I would say, not so much. Exploit you financially. If you want to be a fully participating member of the church and be allowed to go in Mormon temples, yes, you need to give 10% of the money you make to the church. There's also fast offerings, which you can look up. Restrict leisure time and activities. The church controls and dictates lots of different things about what the members are and aren't allowed to do as far as the media that they watch, listen to, participate in, etc. And also the type of places you should go or not, if it's a holy place or if the spirit can be there. So I would say yes. Require you to seek permission for major decisions. Again, I would say yes, based on many things that I've seen in the church handbooks over the years. If you want to be sterilized, you're supposed to discuss that with your bishop. Mormons are anti-abortion, but if they were to have an extenuating circumstance, like somebody was raped or there was incest or whatever, they would want you to consult with your bishop before getting an abortion. We are on I for information control. Deliberately withhold and distort information. Don't even get me started. 5,000% yes. Forbid you from speaking with ex-members and critics. Again, yes. You're supposed to stay far, far away from anti-Mormon information. So if you're Mormon and you're here, that's naughty. Discourage access to non-cult sources of information. Yes, 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 yes. Divide information into insider versus outsider doctrine. Yes, and this is more than just what anti-Mormons say. This is also what other churches teach or what scientists say, things like that. Generate and use propaganda extensively. Oh boy, the amount of pamphlets and things I had. Yes, absolutely. Use information gained in confession sessions against you. I don't think every bishop does this, but there are bishops who do leverage information they learn in a confession against people. More in a way to shame and make them feel guilty than anything else. Gaslight to make you doubt your own memory. The sheer amount of Mormons that do that to me to this day is mind-boggling. They didn't teach that in church. You never saw that in Sunday school, or you did learn that in church. Everybody was taught that in church. You clearly weren't paying attention. Yada, yada, yada. 100% yes. Require you to report thoughts, feelings, and activities to superiors. Yep, you are required to report sins to the bishop to be forgiven. Encourage you to spy and report on others' misconduct. I actually remember learning about this as a little child in primary and then a young adult, how if there was something going on with a friend of yours in church that you were supposed to report it to an adult you could trust, like a young women's leader or a bishop or whatever, so that if one of your friends was making the wrong choices, an adult could help them to make the right choices. T for thought control. Instill black versus white, us versus them, and good versus evil thinking. Yep, there's not a whole lot of gray area. When the prophet speaks, the thinking is done. Change your identity, possibly even your name. A lot of people I think would say no on this, but they don't know the full story. In church, we use titles and then last name. So brother, sister, bishop, president, etc. When you go through the temple, you receive a new name, which is a secret that you don't tell people, but it is like a new identity. Use loaded language and cliches to stop complex thought. Yes, so many cliches. Induce hypnotic or trance states to indoctrinate. I think a lot of people would say no on this. I disagree. Singing hymns together as a congregation, saying the young women values together, much of what goes on in the temple, I think that would be to a lesser degree than many other cults, but I think it still does count. Teach thought-stopping techniques to prevent critical thoughts. I would say yes, absolutely. When I was a kid, I remember being taught to sing hymns if I was ever having doubts. Allow only positive thoughts. Yep, I think current Mormons would try to deny this, but looking back on my time as a Mormon, I remember a lot of that. Use excessive meditation, singing, prayer, and chanting to block thoughts. This goes back to induce hypnotic or trance states to indoctrinate. What I said about that I think applies to this. Reject rational analysis, critical thinking, and doubt. There is absolutely no room for doubt in the church. I think that the church has gotten better with this with time, but if you look over the past several decades where people have had questions or voiced those concerns, they end up getting excommunicated. If you have too many questions in seminary, it ends up being, oh, well, we don't really know. God works in mysterious ways. Don't ask any more questions. Still irrational fears, phobias of questioning or leaving the group. Oh my God, yes. This is actually really sad. I remember being terrified when I first left the church because they had taught me that the only true joy is found within the gospel. I thought that my whole family would disown me. Label some emotions as evil, worldly, sinful, or wrong. Yes. Anger in particular was a big no-no. Teach emotion-stopping techniques to prevent anger and homesickness. Anger, yes. Homesickness, not so much, except when you're on a mission. Promote feelings of guilt, shame, and unworthiness. I would say that they don't try to do this on purpose for the most part, but because of a lot of the teachings they have, this is what ends up happening. Shower you with praise and attention, love bombing. Oh yes, we would literally paper people's doors with little hearts if they didn't show up to church for a few weeks. Threaten your friends and family. I would say no. Shun you if you disobey or disbelieve. The church doesn't actually have a formal system of shunning the way like Jehovah's Witnesses do, but I have heard of a lot of parents who will shun their kids if they leave the church. I definitely wouldn't say this is as strong or prominent as it is in some other religions. Teach that there is no happiness or peace outside the group. Yes. I've already talked about this, but I really thought that my life would be miserable without the church in it. We've now gone over all of these. If you haven't seen them, check out the other parts. There are 35 points to touch on here, and the Mormon Church hits almost all of them. So is the Mormon Church a cult? In my opinion, yes. Again, I encourage you to check out the book, Combating Cult Mind Control. You can also learn more at freedomofmind.com. And I urge you to do other research on cults. Listen to stories from cult survivors, watch cult documentaries, read books about cults. Nobody who's in a cult thinks that they're in a cult. When I was a member, I of course would have said it's absolutely not a cult. There's no way. But now on the other side, I recognize that yes, it is a cult. It's a lot easier to learn effectively if you stop assuming that you're already right. That's all I've got for you today. Make sure you check out parts 1 through 9 so you don't miss anything. See you next time. Thank you so much to my patrons. I really appreciate your support, and a special thank you to @Keegar for supporting at the Demon tier on my Patreon. You can find links to support me in the description as well as links to all my other social media. See you next time.